What's going on, YouTubers? Happy New Year to you. Chris, Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Do you feel any different? Do you feel any newer or better or brighter?
Christmas is good. New Year's is good. Just wait for that shot. Waiting to get back to conventions. I mean, that's it. It's not just kind of a number. That's it.
I hear you, man. Well, hopefully those shots are coming soon, a few months away, and then we will be back to spending those big bucks, some of that cheddar cheese at some cons. Hey, it works for Chris Pratt, all right? He uses the line in, I don't know, what was it, Infinity War? Well, for those of you who only tune in for the first couple minutes, I'm guilty as charged. I've done that too. Wanted to drop some news on you right in the beginning of the show and just say that, I think as Chris and I have mentioned before, we really want to do a live auction, kind of like the Very Gary comics that you've seen done and some other guys too. So at some point, February and March, we're going to definitely do a live auction. We've got some books that we're starting to set aside now. So stay tuned. We're going to keep giving you some more updates as that gets closer, but you won't want to miss it. Promise you there'll be some good stuff. And speaking of which, we're going to throw some photos onto the Facebook. We're going to throw some photos onto Instagram, which I'm happy to report my man Chris has started to kick it into gear and get some photos on there. So be sure to, subscribe, follow us on there. Want to check that out. We're going to have some photos of the artwork, the books we're talking about, some other stuff, whatever tickles our fancy. So I guess with that being said, we wanted to do an episode about WandaVision. So Scarlet Witch and Vision, the show that's going to start next week on Disney Plus, arriving January 15th. So looking forward to that. I think it's the first MCU show that's going to land on the streaming service, followed by, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And then we've got Loki. Got some other MCU stuff coming out later this year, but WandaVision's the first one. So we wanted to talk about a few books in Spec that we have picked up over the last months, year, whatever. So I think to start us off, Chris, why don't you hit us up with the big book?
All right. Yeah. I got a few slabs to this. You said WandaVision. I didn't have a ton of books, like Spec books to this show. I mean, super excited. The Mandalorian is probably the show of the year, and now we've been we're starved for forever for Star Wars that everyone likes, and now we're finally getting some Marvel stuff. Wonder Woman 1984 really didn't do it for me. I don't know about you, but just excited to get something to go on. And so this is probably the biggest book for the show. I got this years ago. Happy to have it in the PC. So there it is, X-Men 4, right? First Wanda, first Quicksilver, second Magneto, I think, and first Toad, and first Mastermind. Where is it? Reading. Brotherhood Evil Mutants.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yep.
But this book, I mean, I know it's a big book. It's kind of popped already, but I was just kind of looking at it as, you start looking at your X-Men #1, your giant size X-Men, what those books are doing. I mean, they're pretty much some of the hottest books out there, and we haven't even really gotten any actual X-Men spec for anything. So I think, I looked it up on eBay. So a four went for $14.50, right? We see, we just see what all these other books are doing. I think some of these X-Men books, we really haven't even gotten to X-Men or Fantastic Four real spec yet. So when I was just kind of going through, so now I looked at the CGC census. Now for just, your blue label CGC, X-Men #4, there's about 1,900 books graded, right? X-Men #1, there's 3,600. And giant size X-Men, there's about 8,700. So it's just, I don't know, I felt like I saw this book, I had to have it years ago, because I think that you go to a show, you just don't see this book a lot, and then just, I mean, who knows? Anything's possible, obviously, but they could bring back Quicksilver, everything like that. And it's a second Magneto he's the biggest villain the X-Men got, and I don't believe we're not going to see him in MCU. So I think this book has a lot of room to grow, even as kind of steep as it's gotten. So, that's why I pulled out this guy. Plus, like I said, it's what I got. So,
no, it's one of your biggest books. Huge fan of that. Really jealous. I think you're right. I think you go to a show like, New York Con, or I'm sure out in, San Diego Comic-Con, like you're going to see a couple of those, but you're not going to see a lot of them at every show. And you're certainly not going to see a lot of them in like the, 7 or higher condition. So yeah, that's for you having that book. That's what, early 60s, mid 60s, and a 7.5,
64.
Yeah.
And
and that's
even
it's
on
a great
eBay,
book.
You have to sort through. I mean, it was basically like hundreds of first appearance of Omega Red before you see one of these. So I think it's just I think it's a rare book, and if you can find one in decent shape out in the wild, I just feel like they're out there. I feel like I've seen them, and you got to go through the bins. Maybe they're kind of on the walls now, but I think it's a good get. I think it's got a lot of room still.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. All right, so I guess next chronologically, we're going to talk a little bit about, well, this is the actual Vision and the Scarlet Witch. Now, this book is from the early 80s, I believe, 82. So this was a short run that Marvel did back then. And it's really, nothing huge. It's just a key issue because it's basically what WandaVision is about. This is where, they became a couple, romantically involved, and this is like their first, I believe, side adventure. So this book is obviously therefore a key issue. So I think it's, picked it up out of a dollar bin at a local store, and it's not worth that much. I'd say probably $5-10 in good condition, and this is, that's a very fine condition in according to like whatever, but yeah, it's definitely worth having. And I would say if the show is successful, and I don't know why it wouldn't be, it's just going to keep going up. I'm not talking hundreds of dollars, but pick it up for $2. Maybe it's worth $50, a couple of years down the road after a few seasons of WandaVision, why wouldn't you want that?
Absolutely. Most I've been seeing are like 10, even $15. And it's just, I don't know how many I must have passed over the years in the dollar box. And
I mean, this is great. There's no spine ticks. This is really beautiful. So yeah.
Good grab.
Thank you, sir. Next, I think is also mine. I was gonna do West Coast Avengers. So this is from around the same time. I believe that was 82. Now this is 1985. This is West Coast Avengers number 4. And you see here that this is the first appearance of Master Pandemonium right there. So he's like this devilish, demonic character. And this is, again, a key issue because it's Master Pandemonium's first appearance. The way that this works into WandaVision, allegedly, is, again, to be played out in the show, is that he comes along and at some point, WandaVision, they have kids, and he steals their souls. So as infants, he steals their souls, takes them to another realm, another dimension, and they're really never seen again, at least in, real, like, our chronology. They're not seen again until around 2005 in another book that we'll get to shortly. But yeah, so he comes along, steals their kids' souls, and so I believe that this is going to be played out in the show. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. So therefore, it's a key issue and worth picking up. And again, this was at if you guys saw a few episodes ago, I was talking about Coffee and Comics in Meriden. They had basically set up some boxes, some long boxes outside on a nice day under a tent. And yeah, I was able to pull this basically out of like a $5 key box.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, all we have is what, 2 minutes of trailer, or whatever you want to call it, and there's so much spec going on. We'll see where it all goes, but I mean, all these little books pop. I know they. I don't think you had the book either. I hope not spoiling anything for you, but the Grim Reaper they were speculating on. I think he's gonna pop up. I don't have the book. That's Avengers 52, I believe. All these books are out there, and it's just some of them are spiking now. At this point, it's kind of wait to see what goes on with the series. But I mean, those books for $1, $5, I think all day long, you got to take them.
Yeah,
you got to grab them.
Yeah, I mean, there's another limited run. Actually, a comic shop by me has, I think, all 12 issues of the limited series of basically the Wanda and Vision, and it's where they actually have their children. And so one of those books is that actual book. So therefore it's, the price on that series, on that whole set, I think has jumped now. I think they wanted like 50 or $60 for it. And then, there's talk of, Sparky, their robotic dog, which is featured in, I think, Vision 6 from like 5 years ago or so. Again, don't have that for this show, but I don't think that's anything more than like a $1 box these days either.
Well, that's the fun of this. You got you spec on it, you search it out. If you're lucky, maybe you find it. One of the shops are not they're not on top of their game. Get a little lucky. But I think after the show, I mean, for the most part, most of these books are probably going to come back down, by at least a couple percentage points here, and we'll you could grab them if you're still interested and things like that. I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't grab the X-Men book. I grabbed it because it's an X-Men book, and it was, not because this show was coming out. And,
right.
We'll see how it goes. It's going to be interesting what they do with Vision. I mean, I missed out on the Vision book a while back, and now it's hot again, so we're going to see what happens. I mean, is Vision going to get back into the movies? Going to be, I don't know. I'm just excited. At least it's something to watch, for a change. So.
Right. So, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I think like with this show, with things that are out, say 6-9 months out from now, or anything that's been even anything that's been announced so far, so like your Loki books, your Falcon, Winter Soldier, I mean, like, now is probably not the best time to be buying them. Wait for the show to at least do its first season, and then you're going to have that lull where things kind of cool off, and maybe in the year between season 1 and season 2, that's when you go buy the books. But yeah, don't go buying them right now, probably, especially not the WandaVision books, because this is actually probably them at their peak for the next, foreseeable few months.
Yeah. How many episodes is it? Was it 10?
I think so. I don't know offhand, but I think, it's like, if it's like Mandalorian is 8 episodes. So it's probably like 8 or 10. Yeah. That would be my guess.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Mandalorian spiked up. I mean, it pretty much spiked off all the Star Wars craziness with all those books. I mean, I don't think this show is going to have the same impact on the Marvel books. I think they're, established commodities to some extent, but it's just everyone's pretty starved for something going on. So, all right, we're moving on. What do we got next?
What's next? I think that's you.
Yeah. What do you want?
You got Mephisto.
You want to talk about that? All right. So. It's, I mean, this is a stretch, but, again, lucky to have this in the PC, got it kind of years ago. First Mephisto, it's a book that kind of sat around for a long time, I feel like, and that's, I grabbed it like a while back just because I wanted a Silver Surfer book, and hey, this is, pretty cool cover, everything like that. But there's that stained glass window in the teaser, and I mean, so people are going a little crazy for this, and now, I think it's really light spec. I think the stained glass window doesn't necessarily mean anything, but got me thinking, we're doing these videos for, a couple months now, right? And I always see the Kang book behind you. And, we all know Kang's coming to the MCU. They're all pumped on him, and I started, I missed, you were lucky enough, you got the book. I missed out, I waited too long. So now the book's popped, right? So I was looking up Kang, so... Kang, so graded copies, an 8.5, I watched go for $2,000 on eBay of Avengers 8, right? So that just got me thinking, like, some of these other books again. Like, I know they're big books, everyone knows these books, but so this Silver Surfer 3, so one just went on eBay, at 8.5 to $13.50. So to me, just my humble opinion, you have Kang. I don't think he's our Thanos. I don't think he's our 10-year villain. I don't think they're gonna, as I break things, I don't think he's our guy. I think someone like Mephisto, he's the devil. He ties into Thanos. You know what I mean? Obviously, the afterworld, things like that, can tie into the multiverse, all sorts of aspects of the MCU. Might be a little kind of biblical for the MCU and for Disney at this point, but I think that he has potential to be our 10-year villain, possibly behind the scenes, not just our Ultrons, they might bring back Killmonger, but some of those villains, even like Red Skull, things like that, where they really only get they get a movie and a scene somewhere else, things like that. So
I think it's Galactus, but I don't know.
I agree. That's another big book, but again, I missed out on it. You missed out on it. I think that book's popped too. I mean, maybe there's room to grow, obviously, but I think when I see Kang going for $2,000 and I can get one of these for about $650 less, I think it's worth looking at. Maybe you get lucky, you get a show, get some. Things are crazy out there. You know what I mean? And if you get a little lucky, maybe get one for $1,200, something to that effect. I think it's worth looking for, and it's just cool cover, and obviously the Silver Surfer book, so goes right in with Galactus too. So
yeah, no, that's good. And I think at some point we'll do some sort of Silver Surfer theme, or I don't know if we have enough books to do an entire episode dedicated to them, but certainly part of an episode. I've got at least 5 Silver Surfer books. We can bring that book back out again and talk more in depth about it. But I think I think he was like the highlight of the original movies. They did those 2 movies with like Jessica Alba and Chris Evans. But
bring him back.
I thought what?
Bring him back.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of hung it up with Cap, right? So, I don't know. I think it's only a matter of time till we see Silver Surfer, and I could see them definitely bringing in like Mephisto and stuff. And then a quick note on Kang. I will talk about that book more in depth, but I always try to tie this into more things like video games and stuff. So I will just say that within the last, couple months, I'd say, maybe like 3 months or so. So for those that are also playing the Marvel Champions, the Once and Future Kang expansion pack came out, the scenario pack. So he's an awesome villain like this, like the artwork that they do on these cards. So, I mean, you get him as Kang the Conqueror. He's a Mortis. He's Rama Tut. He's, Iron Lad. And he can drop T-Rexes on you by doing shifting time. So, again, he's not yet relevant in the MCU. He's coming as a villain, but he's already relevant in video games and card games and such. So anyway, he's coming. The next book, I guess, would be the House of M. We can jump to House of M. I will just say too that there's another book that I wanted to mention that neither one of us have. We try to limit it to just the books that we have, but I will just name drop. Again, it's on Key Collector, but I believe was it West Coast Avengers number 45, 46. It's the white Vision. So basically he's like totally just like memory wiped. And I think the speculation is that when Wanda brings him back, resurrects him from having been completely, ripped apart by Thanos, I think the spec is that he's not going to have memory, or she'll alter his memory so he doesn't have memory of that happening to him, or some kind of amnesia. So that's why they point to that book as being tied into the show. So pick that up. I think that's still pretty cheap out there. But moving right along, we've got House of M. So this was back in the 90s, and this is where Wanda famously says no more mutants and gets rid of a lot of mutants. So I have this book, was able to find this. This was just a couple of dollars at a local shop. This is the director's cut. And to be honest, I haven't really looked through this to know what the difference is between the regular and the director's cut. but I was able to pick this up for a few bucks. And then wanted to show this one too. This is from a 1 in 20 variant by Joe Quesada. So this one I think is currently going for like $45-50 all day. I am planning on getting this graded because it really no spine ticks. I mean, I was able to find this, pay 20 cash for it. I really think that this could be like a 9.6. Yeah, and I've seen these graded at a 9.4, 9.6 going for well over $100, like the 120, 140 range. So, you know, I think I got a good score on this. And I think, you know, Chris, that also, just to sort of tease this, at some point we promised people we're going to do a show about, you know, the commerce of comics, like whether you should go out and pay extra for the graded book or whether it makes sense to find a really good deal on a good book like that one and then pay the extra shipping and pressing and, you know, grading from CGC, and, you know, whether it makes sense to do all that, and, you know, what's the more bang for your buck. So stay tuned out there. We're going to talk about that in more in depth in a future episode. But I think this is a book where doing it this way and paying to send it to CGC down in Florida works to my advantage.
Yeah, you got a good deal. I mean, you've been busy, so I got to get out there, start looking.
All right. So should I do my last one now?
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
What we got?
Because then I think you will just tie in from there. So this is my big book for this episode. This is from 2005. So a few minutes ago, I said, you know, kids are born, souls are stolen. You don't hear about them for like 20 years or so. So then you fast forward to 2005, and here you got Young Avengers #1. I got this graded, did not pay to get it graded. I bought this graded. It's a 9.2, so really good condition. Got it for, you know, over 100, but under 200 a while back. Not too long ago, but, you know, a while back. There was, I think it was the very first episode or second episode, I was telling you guys about Haley Steinfeld, and she was going to be the next Hawkeye, and they were talking about hiring her to play Kate Bishop. And around that time, I think that was, you know, October-ish, that's when I was looking at this book, because this is also the first appearance of the Young Avengers. So this is also Kate Bishop, which we can talk about in another episode. But this also includes, you know, this is the introduction of Wanda and Vision's children. So we've got, you know, Hulkling, we've got Iron Lad that turns out to be Kang the Conqueror. We've got Wiccan, we've got Speed, and these are all the Young Avengers. So bought the book really for Kate Bishop, but also turns out to be related to WandaVision because it's the tie into their children. So yeah, hot book right now. And again, I think it's sort of peaked. So it may die down again, but I mean, you got Kate Bishop just became available in the Marvel Avengers game, video game. And you've got, you know, talk about her being in the new Hawkeye show, and you've got the tie into WandaVision. So if you don't already have this book, you might want to wait a few months, let it die down, and then try to get a good deal on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of good spec for that book too. We might see something with Patriot potentially in was it? It's not Captain America. It's Winter Soldier and Falcon, or Falcon and Winter Soldier, whatever the exact title is. So, and that's what, just another month down the road or so from WandaVision, something to that effect.
Yeah, I think
so,
that's March. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the fun part. So, something's finally coming out again. We can all just spec on stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So you did those Young Avengers books. You mentioned Wiccan. So this is Young Avengers #10, and this is the first Tommy Shepard, which is their other son. And while I'm at it, I grabbed #12 out because this is his first appearance as Speed. So just these books aren't too bad. I mean, who knows? By the end of this show, he might be replacing Quicksilver. You know, it's always fun to have a speedster in the mix. We'll see. There's always something Marvel can do with that. And I don't know. I think they're he's popped a little bit, but again, they're not like the Kate Bishop books. They're not that crazy. So I think they're still, you can find them out there. They're not too bad, but probably give it a couple minutes. You know, we'll see how the show
Also,
goes.
if you have Lego Marvel superheroes, fun as hell to fly around as Wiccan or run all around Manhattan as Speed. It's kind of fun there in that game too.
There you go. All right. So that's it. You're all done?
All set, sir.
All right. I got one more book. So, like I said, didn't have a ton for the show itself, but just again, circling back around to, I was looking at that Kang book on your wall. Jealous. You got it. I didn't. But just thinking about
I'll
down
add
the road.
I'll add the arrow in post production for the kids at home.
There we go. And just thinking about one book I did get way back when, this is before Doctor Strange, the first Doctor Strange film came out, is Strange Tales 126 from 1964. So this is the first appearance of Dormammu. There he is on the cover, just hanging out back there. And again, I think he's another one that can kind of be just not sold on Kang as our big bad for the next decade in the MCU. I think that Dormammu, obviously, he didn't die. He's got his whole dimension. I find it hard to believe we're not going to see Wanda and Doctor Strange aren't going to see him in the next movie, some way, shape, or form. And I could see him kind of orchestrating something behind the scenes. I do think Marvel's going to head more down this, kind of like mystical horror kind of road. They're talking about a Moon Knight show, bringing back Blade, all these kind of things. All kind of ties into the supernatural. I think we're going to get some of those movies, and it's kind of, they really haven't gone, they've kind of done the period piece, they've kind of done the spy piece. We'll see Black Widow comes out, probably going to be kind of another spy. They try to do a different take on each film. So it's not just all an action flick, things like that. They really haven't done horror yet. So kind of interested to see that. And then just going through, eBay real quick, recent sales. We talked about Kang, 8.5 for about $2,000. So you can get an 8.5 of this for about $1,100 right now. So again, kind of a big discount for, a big villain. The Kang cover is probably the best of the three, even with the Silver Surfer book and things like that. But, he's actually on the cover. It's one of the better, Doctor Strange books, and I just don't think we're done with them. So I think it's at a discount now, and, I don't think anyone's really going too crazy about Dormammu at the moment. I think it might be a good time to get in on this one.
I mean, and I completely agree. It sounds like it's, definitely got a lot of room to run. I mean, just so I will talk just for 1 second, since you mentioned it again. I mean, that is another example of a book that I bought and then had graded. So I paid all the expenses out of pocket to get that pressed and graded. But, I mean, it was Big Apple Con, good show down at the Pennsylvania Hotel, down around Madison Square Garden, every March or April in the city. And I paid $100 cash for that book in March of 2018. $100 cash. And now it's like $450 all day in like a 3.5. So that's just how much it's blown up in, I guess, like 3 years, almost 3 years. So, yeah. And if it was higher grade than that, I mean, forget it. But I knew I wasn't getting a great condition book when I bought it, but
not a bad return. I mean, but it's just, it's, I mean, we're collectors, so it's just,
they're out there. We've said this before. The treasures are out there. You just gotta hunt for them. You gotta look through those boxes. You gotta scour all the different wall collections at all the different vendors at these cons. And if one's got it for $150 and the other one's got it for $200, well, maybe you could play them off each other. Maybe you could talk one down to $100. Cash is king, and yeah.
And the biggest thing is read your comics, because you got to make the connections yourself. And it's, I mean, I love all this stuff. I wish I had more time to read even more, comics. DC, Marvel, Image, Boom, IDW, everything. But it's just, the more you read, the more you know, the more dangerous you are out there. And
right.
It's just, this is a great hobby. I just love it. So
no, I love talking about it. Obviously, I mean, this is what we decided to do, so this is great. I guess just to wrap up really quick, talk about some first appearances, talk about, trying to be ahead of the game. We're filming this right now, and this week, Star Wars High Republic just came out, the premiere, first issue. You got a couple first appearances there. I just happened to read that book tonight, liked where the story starts off. Even got a little cameo for Master Yoda in there. You got Future State.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, right. He's on like one page. And then you got, you got the Future State from DC that just started. Again, it's going to be a limited run, but I read Superman and Metropolis, which was, you and I talked about it. It seems like they've sort of recycled the plot a little bit, but I didn't mind it too much. I thought it was all right. So all those books start coming out this week. There's going to be more and more coming out over the next, weeks, couple months. So yeah, a lot of first appearances there too. We'll talk more about that in future episodes. In fact, if you go back a few to like episode, I think 7 or 8, I think it was 8. I actually, you can freeze the screen and actually see the entire release dates for all the stuff coming out for DC Future State. So I do talk a bit about that in the Christmas episode 8. So check that out. So that's all for this episode. Again, we'll have more information on the auction that'll be coming up in the next month or two. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Hope you're having a great start to your year. 2021 has to be better than 2020. So hang in there. Wishing you all a lot of great success this year. Thanks for watching. And until next time, stay safe and stay nerdy.